All right, everybody, welcome to the Exit Is Now podcast with me, your host, Scott Snyder. A little bit different. We're out of the studio in our next few episodes as we record live from the Exit Planning Summit, where we have roughly 650 professional advisors, certified exit planning advisors, community partners, really all of the exit planning community here over the last couple of days. And we are moments away from finishing out Monday, the second day of the summit, where we will start talking about the evolution of exit planning. I wanted to bring in some of our unique guests and welcome Justin to the show. Justin, I would say when I think about Justin, I think about a community builder. Mm-hmm. I think about a unique financial advisor. And I think that you bring a really interesting perspective on how to help business owners kind of balance life and plan financially. So can you kind of talk about what you're getting into? You got a ton of cool stuff going on, and then maybe bleed that into the kind of role of the financial advisor in the business owner's life today.
For sure. And if I get off on a tangent, bring me back in.
I
appreciate those kind words, because when I launched my firm 8 years ago, I wanted to shake things up. So to be doing things differently is exactly what I wanted to achieve.
Well, a financial advisor with a white t-shirt on is always a different type of financial advisor, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So everything that I'm doing, I have a firm called RLS Wealth. It's an advisory firm based in Fishers, Indiana. I started it 8 years ago and work with families and individuals. But recently I've made a change where I'm shifting kind of my focus less towards traditional financial planning, more towards the life planning movement that's going on, which I think really plays into exit planning. And okay, you're exiting and you have this lump sum of money. Like now you have more options. What do you do? And how do you know what to do if you don't know who you really are? So I want to help people connect their spirit, mind, body, and money, pursue their authentic life. And that's the direction I'm going with my advisory firm, which I think feeds into a lot of what the exit planners are doing. Also, I have a community. You mentioned community building. It's called the AGC, Advisors Growing as a Community. That's how we got to know each other, because we have some overlap between it. And what's really cool about that is it's 170 advisors across the globe that get together collaboratively to try to help each other get better and improve. So the reason I think it's exciting and interesting is technically we're competitors.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
But we operate in this world where we come from a mindset of abundance. There's more than enough people to help. There's more than enough people that have different styles, have different needs. And we as advisors, rather than fighting with each other, can put together a unified front to help more people. Not only do we help more people, it changes the perspective of what the community or what the public thinks about financial advisors. Right. Because I don't think we sit very much further above or below, depending on how you look at it, than like used car salesmen. So, and we've earned that over the years of the way we've treated clients and the way the business model's been. But when you have advisors working together, referring to each other, like that puts a different image out there. We just released a book called More Than Money.
Yeah, please talk about it. I got the book. I think it's excellent, and I think it talks about kind of that message and that vibe that you're trying to bring out in your firm.
Yeah, so 29 of the community members got together, each wrote a chapter, and all of the chapters were real life stories, obviously anonymously to protect our clients' identities, but showing what real financial planning looks like. Not just the spreadsheets, because there's a quote that it's Tim Maurer. Tim Maurer always says, personal finance is more personal than finance. And when you're in the business long enough, you realize that.
Absolutely.
So the book shares those stories. And the cool thing about the book is I truly believe the audience is everybody, financial advisors and what we would say clients. Financial advisors, not a lot of advisors, depending where you grow up in the profession, know the different ways you can help clients. You go into one segment of the business, that's all you know, and you don't know what you don't know. This book exposes advisors to different ways to help clients. Not that one's right or wrong, but just more options. And then it lets the public know this is what real planning looks like. It's not just sales based. It's about helping you determine what your goals are, aligning your finances with those goals rather than just planning to save money for retirement on this date at the end of the road. Like we all want to retire, right? But we all want to live along the way, and we all have a vision of what we want our life to be. And what I've found is a lot of times the plans that are created don't really lead to those visions, because that's not we as advisors have been taught.
So talk a little bit more about the community that you built. When we were talking about it before, you talking about a newsletter turned into a community. I'd love to have you share that story with our listeners. Yeah. But I really do think that it's super unique. I think that a lot of people think the EPI community is unique because we have such a diverse set of advisors, right? So people feel comfortable collaborating here because you could be the financial advisor, I could be consultant. We could actually do business together.
Right.
What I think is so unique about what you're doing, and a lot of our SEPAs are over in his group as well, where they're going there as technically competitors,
right?
But even as deep as sharing like a business strategy that everybody's critiquing and everybody feels comfortable with us because it's like more is more.
Right.
And I just think it's fantastic. Can you kind of just elaborate on it?
Yeah, there's two areas on the community I want to hit on. One from the standpoint of highlighting that competitors can actually work together. I shift away from
True.
the scarcity mindset of the days where even within the same company, we're competing with each other as advisors. I've got to eat what I've killed and you're my competition. The reality of it is there are more than enough people that need financial advice and need help.
Right.
There are different ways to do things. We can all be ourselves. And when we are ourselves and we're authentically ourselves, we're going to attract different people. So you and I could do the exact same planning, have the same strategies, but the way you explain something and who you are, the energy you put out, your interests are different than mine. So we can tell the same story, but in our words, I'm going to attract somebody that you wouldn't and vice versa. So there's no reason to fight amongst each other or compete with each other rather than just, hey, this is the lane that I'm in. And if somebody comes to me who's not my lane, hey, I know Scott, I know his lane. Yeah. Let me get them connected, because at the end of the day, I want that person to have a good experience. And if it's not me, let me connect them to somebody who can do well. So that from an advisor standpoint or CPA or attorney, look at your peers as people you can learn from and collaborate with and get better, not as somebody you need to compete with.
Especially as, just sorry to interrupt, but especially as if you're listening to the show and you're the SEPA financial advisor that doesn't come from a huge firm, right? You're a maybe even a sole practitioner. You don't have perhaps the resources that these larger firms have, let alone other shoulders to kind of lean on.
Right.
What I think this also does is give them that community.
Right. Well, and take the SEPA designation, for example. I don't have one.
It's true.
So if I have somebody who is exiting, I would be doing a disservice. I wouldn't be acting as a fiduciary to try to handle that. So I'm calling Nicholas Good or Ryan Newpaper and say, hey guys, I've got this client who's exiting. Can you help me? Or they might be time for me to transition them to you so that they get the care that they need. And I know that sounds crazy to pass business off to another advisor, but I promise you, if you put out good in the world, good comes to you.
Good comes back. No doubt about
the
it.
Other area I want to hit on community that I think is an opportunity for the advisors of the SEPA and here is that you can build a community within your clients. So if you're working with business owners, these business owners have the same interests. They have the same pain points. Give them an opportunity to get together with other business owners to share trade best practices with each other.
Right.
And by providing that community that they know they can trust, you've vetted as the advisor, they're going to assume that you're working with good people. You've given them a resource that is very, very hard to find, that they can go confide in people, mastermind groups grow, and you provided that. Like that's a value add that doesn't cost you much other than putting together a platform. We use in the AGC a platform called Circle.
Yes.
So Circle is an online platform. Think of Facebook combined with Slack.
Yeah.
It's really cool, but there's other ones called Mighty Networks. Like you can provide that, but I've been a part of communities that live inside of Slack. And you don't even have to have a technology. If you're local, let's say you own your city, then just put together, monthly breakfast or lunches, get these guys together, guys and gals together, and let them trade best practices. And that community you're fostering is really good. And what could happen from there is word gets out about this community that your firm is associated with, and you kind of use it as a gatekeeper. Like the way to get into my community is you've got to become a client of the firm.
Exactly.
So I think there's opportunity to provide that. We are seeking community in general, and the advisors that are working with exit planning in particular have a great opportunity to do so.
Yeah. So one of the other things that you're here to do tomorrow morning is one of the most sought after sessions that we have. It's called the Power Session. So for those that want to see a little bit of behind the scenes look to what you'll see tomorrow morning, for those that couldn't make the summit, kind of just what's the Power Session all about for you? You got 15 to 18 minutes to hit them with something inspiring. Talk to me about it. What do you think it's going to be like?
So the title of it is about leveraging your personal brand. And what I want to do is demystify the personal brand term, because I think a lot of people either think that that's all about Instagram fame and different things along those lines, or they're afraid. And really, we all already have a brand. So what I want people to realize is that you already have a personal brand.
Yes.
It's your reputation.
Yep.
So now that we know that there are people who are talking about us when we're not there, are we controlling that narrative? Does that brand match what we want it to be? And how can we leverage that to help us grow our business? So I want people to walk away excited to realize they have a personal brand, they have a story to tell, and not be shy of doing it, and then do so in an authentic way, and how that can attract the right types of people and deflect the wrong people.
Super cool, man. I can't wait to hear it. But so we'll be right back with our next guest. We're going to introduce you to some other Power Session people that are joining us here at the Summit. Justin, I appreciate you coming out and hanging out with us, man.
Appreciate it, Scott.
For business owners, by a business owner. Walking to Destiny is your essential resource for understanding what makes your business highly profitable and significant. It becomes a business owner's handbook to know how to rapidly grow value and ultimately unlock the personal wealth trapped in business. Exit Planning Institute CEO Christopher Snyder demonstrates how strategic exit planning will help you achieve improvements today while positioning you to build wealth for generations. Secure your success along other value creators. Discover, prepare, and decide what your walk to destiny will ultimately be. If executed correctly, these strategies can grow a business owner's wealth by 10 times. Walking to Destiny, the second edition, the 11 actions an owner must take to rapidly grow value and unlock wealth. Get your copy today at www.walkingtodestiny.com.
Welcome back to the Exit Is Now podcast. I'm hanging out with Michael, who's going to be another one of our power session speakers. Again, I was saying to Justin earlier, a sought-after session, one that I personally get to plan myself, and I like bringing in experts, authors, and people with like bold personalities. And you were introduced to me by, I think, another SEPA or another partner that's here. And when I just listened to you on that Zoom call alone, I was like, we got to get him into a power session. So thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I've had so much fun since I've been here. And yeah, shout out to Brad Barris.
Yes.
He's a very smart guy. I love working with him. And it was awesome that he brought us together.
Yeah. It is. It is. So what I like what you bring is probably one of the hottest topics, and our podcast is produced by a bunch of people on our marketing team.
Right.
So they could probably really feel what I think where our conversation go, and probably where your power session will go. One of the biggest things I think that folks struggle with inside of the EPI community is now there's something different, something more, and frankly, something unique. And they don't know necessarily how to build a brand around that. They don't know how to tell that story. They don't know how to get people on the other end, and maybe use some of your words, how to get people hyped up about it.
Right.
Because they do more now than financial advisory, more than practicing law, more than doing accounting. They're working with business owners in a big life transformation, business, personal, and financial elements. So can you talk to like kind of what you do perhaps for clients overall, and where do you think that fits in for you? Is because you're pretty unique here in the EPI community.
Yeah, I'd love to start just by talking about that particular
Sure.
set of concerns, because just, getting to spend some time here before the talk has been really interesting, because I'm meeting all of these very smart people,
Right.
who, when they hear that I own a quote unquote marketing agency,
Sure.
which is the easy way to describe
easy
it,
way
even
to
though we
describe
do
what you do.
something
Sure.
different, they'll say to me things like, and I get where this comes from, what is your favorite platform? Meaning, should you use Instagram, TikTok, or podcasting? Or one gentleman said to me, I hired an SEO company and it was a disaster.
Yeah, we hear it a lot too.
But the thing is, that's like saying I have this amazing novel idea.
Right.
And I just bought an amazing word processor. So that's going to turn me into William Faulkner.
Yeah, right.
Right? These are tools and they're accelerators. And what we don't realize is people have been hyping things up. And that's why I use the word hype instead of marketing, because marketing has come to mean pushing buttons on the right technologies.
Right.
But when you talk about hype, all that means is how do you get an emotional reaction from a large number of people based on the way we're wired,
right,
to get them to take a certain action, right? So, I mean, that's what we do, right? I mean, my company, Microfame Media, I guess we're a marketing agency, but we specialize in hype. So what we do is we look at all of these people who aren't marketers. We don't look at the SEO experts, search engine optimization. We don't look at the social media experts. We use those tools. But we look at the rock band managers from the 70s. We look at cult leaders, and we say, how do we look at this understanding of human nature?
Yeah. And
then apply it ethically to what we're trying to get across.
Exactly,
and we can talk about how to do that for this industry, because I have some ideas on that. But that's sort of our core thing.
So talk to me about the book. What was the inspiration behind the book, the Hype Handbook? It was a part of the author showcase over here. So after I met you, I got your book and I read that and I was like, okay, now I'm definitely in, because you take a very different angle than I think a traditional kind of marketing agency. And I think that, before we jumped on the show, we were talking about the exit planning thing is kind of the cool thing to do, but how do I, again, kind of hype that up and tell that story? Can just talk about the book a little bit as well.
Yeah, I really came full circle because I never wanted to be a business person at all.
Where'd you start?
I wanted to be a writer.
Yeah, okay.
And I wanted to be a novelist, and then I wanted to write songs, and I did some of that, and we can go into all of that, but one thing led to another. I had to grow up, and I got a corporate job, right?
Okay.
And after I learned how to sort of become an adult there, I became a corporate copywriter. So I basically wrote demand generation copy material.
Yeah, sure.
And the problem was, I figured because I was a good writer, I would just get lots of business. And it turned out I couldn't get any business. I mean, I got a few gigs, but I almost went broke.
Oh.
And I'm a real student. So I studied search engine optimization. I studied all these things we talked about, and it didn't help me at all. And then I remembered I used to play in a band in New York in my early 20s. And I don't know how good we were. Obviously not good enough to become rock stars. But we used to pack shows all the time. And we did it. And we would always say we're hyping up the show. So, for example, we talked our way onto Showtime at the Apollo because we knew we would be booed off.
Okay.
And it got us press attention. And we would do things like that. So at a certain point, I was like, I really lost touch with who I am. I need to stop behaving like a marketer and start acting like I did when I was hyping up shows.
Like a hype man,
So I started doing things like that, and I started studying hype artists, and it blew up. I mean, it was pivotal. It was kind of like the gentleman from Netflix talking about Mark, when he had that one idea.
That one idea, right.
My writing practice blew up when I started using those strategies. It became a marketing agency. So this is a very long way of saying the book was coming around full circle. I would see time and time again all of these people selling garbage who were so good at getting their ideas out. And then I would have these clients in the agency who had such amazing work, and they were just so reluctant to work with human beings the way they actually respond to triggers versus how we'd like to think they do. So I was like, I really need to put this between the covers of a book so I could get really good people who don't come to this stuff intuitively to have sort of a Bible for hyping up great products, because the bad guys get it naturally. You know what I mean? And plus, I just wanted to write a good book because I've always wanted to.
Cool,
I'm a
right?
writer.
It's a pretty cool experience. So now you've been hanging out here for a day and a half, and given everything you just talked about, how does the financial advisor, the CPA, the attorney, the certified exit planning advisor, at least at a high level, start to apply some of the concepts that you teach to your clients today?
It's been really fun to have conversations with some of the people here, because it's almost the archetype of the extremely smart, talented person who doesn't know how to hype themselves up. So
right.
I've had this conversation at least 3 times in the last day and a half.
Okay.
I've cracked the code to solving a certain problem.
Okay.
And they usually have. And they start to tell me all of the ins and outs of their product and the way they weave together, tax abatement here and this here and this here. And what I say to them is, the minute you start with that stuff, no one wants to be sold to. No one wants to hear how great your solution is. No one even wants to hear the benefits. So I always ask my beginning clients 2 questions that I think anyone can benefit from. One is, what is a point of view in your corner of the universe that everyone says like gospel and that you absolutely hate? So maybe it's that you should never take out debt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And you as an exit planner understand how useful debt is in certain circumstances. Instead of saying my debt advantaged product, et cetera, say, I love debt.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Let's talk about why debt is the most wonderful thing in the world.
Right.
Wow. Now that's interesting. Now, some people are going to say that's ridiculous. That's absurd. You want that. You want intensity. Yeah. And some people are going to get curious.
It's like why you went to that show and got booed so you get some more publicity.
That's 100% it. I mean, the article that changed my life when I started thinking that way, there's a guy in my world named Gary Vaynerchuk that not everyone knows, but he's this marketing guru. And he tells kids, young people, that they should be working so much on social media that when they get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, they should be tweeting. So I would hear this and I would say to myself, the only guy getting rich through this advice is Gary.
Right. Yeah.
So I wrote an article called Why Gary Vaynerchuk is Flat Out Wrong. And without being a troll, I dismantled all of his ideas and said, you need a systematic approach. Now, the trick was, I offer a systematic approach.
Yeah, well, sure.
Right. So I didn't say use my systematic approach. I dismantled what everyone else is saying, hustle, which is what all the marketers are saying. And I said, use this instead. Gary Vaynerchuk saw the article and he was a superstar. I was a nothing at this time. This was like 11 years ago. And he responded directly and he was very agitated. He was sweating, his hair was sticking up. All these people who were his fans blew up my phone with Twitter. Right. I thought I had ruined my career. It
Oh,
was
no.
the start of my career.
Right. It really,
Because there were all
see?
these other people who inclined that way.
Yeah.
But now I had a tribe. So find that thing in your area that you started your business to solve and speak against that flawed idea. Speak for your idea with the idea that you're giving someone a new way to look at the world.
Right.
And the product part will take care of itself. The service part will take care of itself because you're teaching something new.
Yeah.
And that's a starting point.
I think that's a starting point for the SEPAs too. So
100%.
Kind of winding down and wrapping up. Talk to me about the power session. So you're here, you got the 15 to 18 minutes, say the most motivational thing you can say to a bunch of certified exit planning advisors. Kind of give us some highlights from it.
Really what I'm going to focus on, it's called the power of hype.
Yep.
And the main thing that I'm going to focus on is that not all hype, promotion, marketing is created equal. So if you are someone who is trying to affect the hearts and minds of people making $100 million transactions, don't think that just because everyone is building a big, TikTok following,
right,
or that everyone is using ChatGPT, that you need to do that.
Yeah.
Some of these things were designed for teenagers, doing selfies, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
This fear of missing out that we're all chasing and that we're all feeling guilty about, we need to put that aside. We need to take a deep breath and we need to think about, for my world, for my industry, how can I tap into the truly human to open people up
100%.
and get them to move in my direction?
I love that. Well, folks, thanks for hanging out here. And if you're listening to this post-summit, hopefully you loved Michael's session. And we'll be back on the Exit Is Now podcast shortly. Thanks.
The Exit Planning Institute is the authority in exit planning. With its award-winning process, the Value Acceleration methodology provides deep insights into how to help business owners create more significant companies while blending and aligning their business, personal, and financial goals. EPI brings together the world's most elite exit planning advisors to form the EPI community. The EPI community represents over 15,000 professional advisors worldwide, including its 5,000 certified exit planning advisors. These advisors include financial advisors, growth consultants, CPAs, attorneys, M&A advisors, amongst others, who come together to expand their knowledge, create and innovate, network and relationship build, grow their practices, and better attract and engage business owner clients. Join EPI today and gain access to the community, content, courses, credential, and conference that you as the professional advisor need in order to harness the opportunity with small to lower middle market business owners who strive to grow a company of significance, thus having a highly valuable and transferable company. Follow the Exit Planning Institute on LinkedIn and visit earnsepa.com to learn more about the community leading the exit planning profession.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Exit Is Now podcast. We're broadcasting from the Exit Planning Summit, which just wrapped up behind us. I'm hanging out with my buddy Chad, and I'll tell you what, that I sent an email out. How I got to know this fine gentleman is I sent an email out, and it was literally an email for folks that had signed up for the Exit Planning Summit, but we're a couple weeks away and they hadn't reserved their rooms, and we didn't want them to miss out. So Jocelyn, who's our operations manager with many people in our audience know, said, Scott, can you reach out to some of these people? And I reached out to him, and he emailed me back like, thanks, man. I appreciate that. If this is Scott. And I emailed him back, and I said, look, we don't bullshit around here. This is definitely Scott. We're a family business. We're a community of people, and that's how we got to know each other. So welcome to the show.
Thanks.
And
Never thought I'd be actually on it. So.
Yeah, so you're here. We're on the show, and what's also interesting is that this year at the Exit Planning Summit, about 650 people, but about 25% of the audience was actually non-SEPAs. Mm-hmm. So you included.
Correct.
So tell me about the experience. Tell me about the community, and tell me, as certainly also a young advisor, what we're kind of where you're going and what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I actually just stumbled into the SEPA community. About a year ago, we were doing a case, and a SEPA actually came in to help us with it. And he said I should look into doing SEPA, and didn't even know what it was. And I do direct support for the financial planner that I work for.
Right.
And started looking into it, kind of stuck around. Then you came out with the podcast and started following that, and really just was drawn to it. And then found out about the summit and decided just to go ahead and
just dive in.
Yeah, come see what it is instead of learning everything first. Come get hands-on experience, and then if I want to follow it. But man, it was really surprised with this weekend, and it coming from the financial planning focus, it even made me open up my eyes a little bit and think that I may want to focus on SEPA with an emphasis on financial planning. And so I'm at a point right now where I can kind of really narrow down and mold how I want my future career to be. And so, which is nice. You know, I'm not locked into something. I haven't been in the industry, too long.
Sure.
So it was an experience, and it was worth every bit of it. And now it may even change my career path.
Wow. I think that's impactful. I think that's important too. We've talked a lot about over the last couple of days, this next generation of owner, of advisor. And I think that, and I'd like to see your opinion on, if you're a younger advisor, even, 45 or younger, or certainly just entering the space, I think business owners is where it's at.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, and I was just talking to one of y'all's EPI employees over there before I came up here. And when you break everything down and look at it, ideally you want to have the least number of clients possible with highest AUM. Sure. And call it what it is. Whenever some people sell a business, it's privately owned, usually you get a pretty good payout. And so, I mean, the opportunity for that to make it as efficient as possible, the opportunity with the turnover that Chris has mentioned before, where the average age of the boomers is, 68, and then the next 10 years it may be turning over, I think 10 trillion.
Yeah.
And
10 trillion
there's a big opportunity that looks like it's coming, and you want to be on the right side of it.
I totally agree. I think that what we heard a lot too, we had a lot of focus on this 43% of owners that are in that kind of next generation, that 36 to 56 years old. And without doubt, I think that for young advisors that are looking for career paths, looking for unique education, looking for any of that, I hope they find a place at the Exit Planning Summit. And we're certainly not saying that anybody needs to become a SEPA at all. Yeah. We're saying let's immerse ourselves in the exit planning community, share ideas, share experience, get exposure to great people, which is, I hope you got a lot of that over the last 3 days.
I was really stunned by it. And plus, if you're a financial advisor or planner, however you want to do it, and why not get the SEPA?
I think, again, it just gives you that diversification to look and understand a little bit about the business side, a little bit about the personal planning, like you're certainly the expert in the financial side. I think it gives you that holistic look. And I think better yet, it gives you a network, right? There's tons of different types of people here that you met, from authors to thought leaders to all the different types of professional advisors. So
and even if you don't
robust community.
And even if you end up not really focusing on SEPA, you still have it. And like you just said, the network opens up so much to where you can add a client that maybe it's post-sale, you didn't want anything to do with the exit itself, but they have to manage that sum of money and manage their retirement and spend down and all that. So it's at the very worst, it's a great connection and networking for opportunities.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you shooting me that email back. I think him and I are kind of I feel like cut from the same rug a little bit. We got a lot of the same mentality,
right?
And he's not a bullshitter either. He shoots you honest, and our crew behind the cameras is all laughing at us right now. But I think that for me, when you made that very simple comment, it was a thing. And Gino Wickman, I might have told you the story. Gino Wickman, the founder of EOS, the author of Traction, spoke last year at our keynote. And he tells this story where he looks across the room at his wife was throwing him like a 40th birthday party, right? So he had to come up and give a speech. And there was like 7 tables of people. Some were his family, some were people that went to his church, some were his clients, some were his employees. And he said in that room, he imagined when he looked across those 7 tables that he realized in that moment at 40 years old that he was a different person in every table that he hung out with. And it changed my life forever. That's one of the things that changed my life was you're just going to get Scott the way Scott is, and I'm not going to polish it up. So when you emailed me, I was like, yeah, man, I just want to take care of people. So I appreciate you jumping on the show. I appreciate you're dedicated to the exit planning community, and hopefully we'll see you in Marco Island next year, do a little fishing.
Oh yeah.
I think your story's excellent, and you're the only person that we've interviewed while we're at the summit is actually a non-SEPA. So I think getting that, one of the goals is overall over the next 3 years is to expand it from when people think EPI today, I think they think certified exit planning advisor. But although I think that's what we're most known for and probably always will be, we actually have 15,000 people in the community that come to our summit, interact in our chapters, visit our webinars, listen to the podcast, so on and so forth. So I like that you're committed to come in here. Don't feel uncomfortable coming in like it's a SEPA group only, because I think that we need all kinds of perspectives. And and it could lead to SEPA. It could lead to just being active in the community. So I appreciate it, man.
Maybe I'll be a SEPA next year in Florida, and we can do it times two.
Right, times two, man. Yeah. Well, thanks for hanging out, and we'll be back with more from the Exit Is Now podcast. Thanks. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Exit Is Now podcast, hanging out with one of my best friends. You guys know him here at Exit Planning Institute as Josh Koza, our manager of strategic relationships. Although, if you know Josh well, he's been here for what? How long? 7 years?
7 years in February.
7 years this past February?
Yeah.
So a long time. And he's seen, talk about, I guess, one of the things that was at the Exit Planning Summit that came out this year was this evolution of exit planning. And when I look internally at our team, and we saw some photos as we started my keynote, and I think that we as well have come through this evolution of exit planning ourselves. You've been a huge part of that, and thank you for your dedication to us and to the overall community. Can you kind of maybe just give your perspective on what you saw here over the past couple of days? Right, your first summit had to be 7 years ago, probably 150 people.
Yeah,
here,
if that,
right? If that.
Right.
And here we had 650. Last year we set a record for the largest summer. We set a new record this year. So talk to me about your opinion on where we've come from.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to see the growth. I was thinking back to 2016 and having approximately 150 people. And then my last summit was actually 2018 in Nashville that I attended. And there was about 190. And then I think in San Antonio, you guys got just over around 200, right? And then we take a couple years off, come back, and you've got 480-ish out of the gate, and now over 600 a year later. So it's pretty incredible. If you would have told me back in 2016 we would have had this many people in a room, I probably would have said you were crazy.
Yeah,
but here we are. So it's really cool to reconnect with people that have been around the whole time.
Right.
I mean, some of the people I saw today, talked to this week, were 2016 SEPAs, been around since I started for my first year, and some of the newer ones who we've maybe talked to on the phone, seen on Zooms, but haven't had a chance to meet in person yet. So it's a really cool experience.
Well, it's kind of cool for you too, because as I kind of said when it opened up, you've done a little bit of everything at EPI. So you came in as a utility player, I think, right? Me and you were doing probably every job. Then you focused on member experience. I think you focused on events. Then you focused on member experience. Then you were on the business development team. And most recently, you are on the executive team now, one of our executive leaders, and specifically in charge of our strategic relationships. So a lot of the partners that we see in our partner hall that help us drive best practices, new business, resources, tools, better connections with owners. We announced today, too, that we're going out to Marco Island, Florida next year in 2024. So can you talk to us from a partnership perspective? What does that mean for our partners? What can they see next year? What's maybe your vision a little bit?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I'm just coming out of some conversations with some of our partners from this year and thinking about what next year is going to look like. I think we have a much larger conference facility, so we've got more space to work with. I think, in looking back, we had, I'd have to double check the numbers, I don't know, 15 or 20 partners in those first summits. And this year we had 37. And next year I think we'll get over 40. But I think it's a blend of quality and quantity, right? I think we want a large number of participants for a partner to be able to connect with, but it's really about the quality of the conversations. And as I was talking to the partners today, as they were doing a little bit of a debrief, they said that the traffic was good, but the quality of the conversations was really good.
Right.
And that's what we're after, right? Is those quality relationships, those interactions. And so we want to drive more of those next year. And so in looking at how do we set up the conference or exhibit facility, how do we align that? How do we put the attendees in that room and in the situations to have those conversations? So I'm excited about what we're going to be able to do to put that together.
Yeah, I think that you're totally right. I don't think we accept anybody in our partner hall, unlike maybe some other conferences. I think we truly endorse the partners that we put in there because they really accelerate the growth of our certified exit planning advisors firms. So I've asked everybody that came on this podcast, it'll be interesting as somebody that's not an advisor, right, is internally on an executive team that's growing a business, looking into this future, right, this evolution of exit planning 5-10 years out. What pops into your mind? Where are we going as a profession? Where are we heading? What kind of pops into your mind as an executive here at EPI and not somebody that's in the field working with owners?
That's a good question.
Though you work with me,
so right.
Yeah, so though
right,
you work with me and you're an advisor to me, I don't know where your perspective
Yeah.
is.
Well, and working for you and Chris, who have awfully lofty goals for
Yeah,
where
right?
things are going.
Pretty ambitious
right?
guys.
Yeah, sure. I think that 5-10 years from now, I think we get to that 10,000 members, 10,000 SEPA mark.
Yep.
But I think, and you've talked to the community, it's EPI is evolving into more than just SEPA. I guess we've always been more than SEPA, but that's really been the core of what we do. I think it's a community of where we can hang out, advisors and business owners. So I think that an event like this, has 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 attendees, but that's a mix of advisors, SEPAs, business owners, being able to connect as
Absolutely. I think truly building a kind of robust community of anybody that's serious about building a company of significance. I think this is where you become where you come. We saw Chad, a non-SEPA, on here. We saw an investment banker in our REAG. We've had award-winning SEPAs on the show this week. All people from different kind of walks and representations, but people coming together to help owners grow more significant companies. So I say we wrap up and get over to the after party, celebrate a success with our team and the remaining folks at our conference. I've seen that you've brought me a drink. I think out of all the Exit Is Now podcasts, this is the first alcoholic beverage that will be on the podcast. So I appreciate that.
I've been around for a lot of firsts at EPI, so I'm glad to be a part of this.
This is it. Hopefully you got this approved with the producers of the show. But I say cheers, brother.
All right, cheers.
Cheers
Thank
to
you.
a great Exit Planning Summit.
Absolutely.
Thanks
Great
for coming
event.
on, and thanks for everybody showing up at the Exit Planning Summit this year. Thanks.